tabletop racket pattern, forehand and backhand side, when it comes down to criticism, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. Certainly, for years, we've been criticized for having players work on this type of pattern. Just toss them a ball underhand, they hit, and they hold. They have this power line where they're leaning forward in this position. Forehand side, and then also the backhand side. Keep in mind, I said there's some similarities between the return of serve and the approach shot. When it comes down to approach shot, just think of tennis terminology. Approach the net. The airplane is approaching the runway. Approach means to move through. If someone stops to hit the ball, it's not an approach shot. It's a forcing shot. And there's a right place and time for a forcing shot. But we teach players to have a tabletop approach shot. And then players will say, well, players today don't play that way. And quite often the player's right, because you'll find a lot of players have the grip too far over in this position, and they end up taking the racket head low. And many of the top players in the world will be just one-dimensional counterattackers, one-dimensional baseliners. Great, great players, but players that don't have the options to be successful on every surface. When it comes down to approach shots, there's also the approach volley. If you find someone has just an extreme grip on the forehand side, when they come in, typically they're going to only play a swing volley. Now, you want to be able to play a swing volley, but we use the term conventional approach volley. Someone hits a moon ball. You want to run first, turn second, you take the ball like the racket's going across a tabletop. There's many times in tennis where you want to take speed off the shot. And the reasons you want to take speed off the shot is when the ball's in flight, you're in movement to the net. So once you teach someone the tabletop pattern, where they just slowly go forward, when you actually hit it, you have a ground stroke finish and the racket disappears. You swing very, very fast. But you can get to the point where someone just takes the racket in this position, and then from here, they hit mild topspin. Now, you can start at the tabletop, and there's players who get jammed, for example, and some of the best players in the history of the game have been able to play side spin approach shots, where you come in this way. But you want to have the framework to take the racket across the tabletop. So if a player automatically does this on the backhand side, sure enough, they can reset the swing and bring it back up. But a key word, write this down, options. You want to have a technical framework for stroke production that gives you tactical options. You work on technique for better tactics. So a player is in this position first. Now, it's going to help on the return serve, but that's going to help take the ball out of the air. Keep in mind, that's why when you're in the ready position, you don't want to wait with a grip on 4 in this position. Now, it's not wrong. One of the best returners ever had the grip on 4, Jimmy Connors. Racket face was in this position, and what he did to take the return early is he pulled the racket in this way. One of the best returners ever. And what he did on the approach shot was the same thing. He moved through the approach shot. A lot of people will say that before Jack Kramer, Jimmy Connors, then Jack Kramer, great approach shot, because they could take the ball and move through it. It's really interesting. Today you find a lot of kids, they stop, and with an extreme grip, they blast a topspin shot to an opponent who has a western grip on the forehand side, and the ball bounces up high. So they're not getting close to the net. They're not moving through the shot. They're giving their opponent a ball that bounces up high, which is conducive to the grip they have. So you want to get to the point where you understand all the intricacies, all the subtleties of stroke production, and then you can be very creative with drills. And we do all sorts of drills that force a player to come in and play a ball with the idea they can take an approach shot flat. They can take an approach volley right out of the air. So again, in summary, you want to be able to teach your players to have this pattern in a developmental phase that we call tabletop. I should say we, that really comes from Braden. Braden will say you need to be able to do that in a return to serve, an approach shot, an approach volley.